State regime media, which calls itself Fox News, and Donald Trump's communications director Stephen Chung have been attacking the MeidasTouch network after it was announced that we at the MeidasTouch network brought aboard Scott McFarland, legendary reporter, as our chief Washington correspondent. Let me show you what Fox was saying about us and what some of their reporters were saying. I'll show you what Stephen Chung was saying. I'll show you what some other far right-wing people were saying to attack the MeidasTouch network. Then we'll put up our reporting versus state regime media, which calls itself Fox. And I guess you can say we'll report, you'll decide. Okay, so this was the headline from state regime media, which called itself Fox from yesterday. Veteran CBS reporter joins far-left media company MeidasTouch as anchor, says they share the same North Star. Scott McFarland joins media group MeidasTouch that is openly hostile to Trump. Ooh, openly hostile to Trump. Why? Because we report the truth. We report his deranged and demented behavior, his barrage of lies that have made the United States the weakest it's ever been, probably in our history. Let's go on and we'll read more of the article. Former CBS News reporter Scott McFarland announced on Monday he's joining the far-left media company. Might say, wow, we're so far left. Because again, why? We report on the truth. We care about democracy and empathy and treating people with respect and with dignity and supporting our allies and supporting NATO and supporting Ukraine. And most importantly, supporting the people here in the United States of America, the people who are suffering under this Trump regime, who can't afford rent, who can't afford homes, who can't afford groceries, who now can't afford gas, who were psychologically tortured, living paycheck to paycheck, lie after lie from this Trump regime, which said that they would make things affordable on day one, that prices would decrease, that there would be peace in Ukraine in 24 hours. All lies. Because we call that out, that makes us radical. That makes us far left. I think that makes us truthful. And I think that's what the people want right now. The truth, the facts, not the BS lies of state regime media. It goes on to say, many conservatives took to social media to offer their thoughts on McFarland's move. Journalist Mike Cody wrote, "This is why nobody on the political right buys the legacy media is unbiased." Claptrap. Claptrap. Strange word. When a longtime CBS reporter gets a new job with a resistant slop clickbait farm in less than 2 weeks, the truth is pretty damn obvious. Well, what I think is pretty damn obvious is if you take a look at our reporting on a day-to-day basis, where we go through the very specific nuances of the war, of Donald Trump's cover-up of a child sex trafficking ring, the Epstein files, as we go through the court cases that Trump is involved in, and that this country is embroiled in on nuanced footnote levels. As we go through all of that, you can call it whatever you want to call it. But there's a reason why in the past 2 years we've got over 9 billion views. Because the people crave truth. And people like you, Mike Cody, whatever your name is, are being exposed. And people don't want to hear the lies and the gaslighting. They want the truth. They just want the facts. And that's what they come to the MeidasTouch network for. The Fox State Regime article then cites Stephen Chung, who attacks us. I'll show that in a moment. And then Fox goes, titles of recent videos posted to the MeidasTouch YouTube page include, Trump panics and lies. He made deal to end war. Well, that's what happened. He panicked. He did a 48-hour ultimatum. He said he would commit a dastardly war crime, blow up the civilian energy facilities in Iran, which, by the way, Israel did last night, as things further escalated. And then he said, ooh, I spoke with Iran, and they told me that they're really cool with everything and we are making a peace deal. Manipulates the markets. By the way, within a 1-minute time period, about $1.5 billion were moved from clear insider trading that took place. Someone got the tip of what was going to take place. And then Iran started mocking the United States when Donald Trump said that he and the Ayatollah would control the Strait of Hormuz together. Yeah, he's panicking and lying that he made a deal. What? You prefer the Donald Trump social media posts in all caps? Thank you for your attention to this matter. The sloppy Democrats blah blah blah. I mean, really, that's what you prefer. Because yeah, there may be caps in my posts, but they're truthful. Stephen Chung, Donald Trump's communications director, weird dude, writes the following. Every reporter who leaves, more like fired from their outlet, always comes out as a deranged liberal every single damn time. Just goes to show how biased news media has become. You want to talk about bias there, Chun? Maybe you talk about how the right-wing oligarchs have consolidated and acquired all of media, and now they basically just do your bidding as state regime media. A healthy democracy is critical of the corruption that's taking place. Like, I think we should criticize when Donald Trump's little kids, right? They're kitty kids, huh? Eric and Don Jr., when they make massive amounts of money, whether it's on drone businesses or what was Don Jr.'s thing? Club. The executive branch club in Washington, D.C. $500,000 to access the executive branch. Yeah, the quid pro quo pay-for-play schemes in the Middle East. The emolument clause violations, in my opinion. We call that out. We call that out. You want to call that a liberal bias? I call it fearless reporting. And that, again, is what's needed right now. Joe Kucha over at Fox goes in, which Scott will also reveal himself to be much a partisan as Lemon Acosta, Chuck Todd, Terry Morin, Katie Couric, to name a few. He's joining MeidasTouch, the most far-left, quote, news organization in the country that literally ran a protest during the Trump State of the Union. We didn't run a protest. We distributed a People's State of the Union, where rather than hear a maniacal authoritarian blowiate for what, 3 hours long? How long was that speech that Donald Trump gave that total and utter nonsense? People who tuned in to the MeidasTouch Network's People's State of the Union, by the way, over 2 million people watched it, so you want to talk about ratings. We were the most watched YouTube channel of pretty much all of the streams at that time for the People's State of the Union. What was talked about on our State of the Union, the People's State of the Union, were the kitchen table issues: rent, ICE and Border Patrol, Gestapo, torturing people, killing people on the streets, how to make things more affordable, better education, better healthcare, how we can make sure the Epstein files get released and be made public, and stop the cover-up. How do we help Americans who are psychologically tortured living paycheck to paycheck? That's what we talked about. I think those issues are not far left. I think those are the issues that Americans care about right now because it impacts them. This is what is impacting the American people. I'm Michael Popak, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of MeidasTouch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Pope Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Pope Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years. So my own law firm, organically building on my Legal AF work, just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states, known as big auto injury attorneys, who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states, and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment, or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Pope Firm today at 1-877-POP-AF, or by visiting my website at www.thepopefirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popo Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way. Now you have this far right-wing site, Mr. C Newsbusters, or Merc Newsbusters, not sure how you say it. Least surprising thing ever. January 6th obsessed former CBS Juro joins far-left outlet. He's January 6th obsessed. That's the framing of it. In not-so-shocking turn of events, former CBS correspondent Scott McFarland, a man with seemingly zero hobbies in life outside of January 6th, announced Monday morning he was joining far-left MeidasTouch Network as a host and correspondent, cartoonishly insisting without a shred of irony he's not an opinionist or editorialist, but would nonetheless refuse to platform conspiracy theories or allow whitewashing of history in such a critical moment. The pedantic partisan boast, big words there, the pedantic partisan boasted to followers that less than 10 days after leaving CBS, he would become effective immediately, the chief Washington correspondent for the MeidasTouch Network. An eponymous daily show will launch in 2 or 3 weeks, bringing together those who share the same North Star of communicating. When you have news to break or something important to explain, just get to it, straight to the point. Like how they say January 6th obsessed, because he was a Justice Department reporter for CBS, and he reported on the January 6th insurrection and the cases where every one of these insurrectionists who was prosecuted, who went to jury trials, were convicted, including the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers for seditious conspiracy. Seems like a pretty big deal when our country is subject to an insurrection to overthrow our government. They take it pretty seriously in other countries like Brazil, where Bolsonaro is now in prison, essentially for the rest of his life. In South Korea, where their insurrectionist president is serving a life sentence. So maybe here in the United States, we should care about that and focus on insurrections and the fact that there's seditious conspiracy. Like, I think it's a pretty big deal. And maybe call me a far-left pundit for saying this, that the Proud Boys, those convicted of seditious conspiracy, who were pardoned by Donald Trump and his regime, were partying in Mar-a-Lago this past weekend, taking selfies of themselves, celebrating at Mar-a-Lago, while 2,500 Marine Expeditionary Unit troops are headed on the USS Tripoli to Iran to arrive on Friday. As Donald Trump manipulates the markets, as I mentioned before, $1.5 billion being funneled through the S&P and oil markets right before Donald Trump makes the announcement that the United States made a fake peace deal with Iran, which we know is not true. So you heard a little bit here, my reporting, right? My take on issues. I think it's factual. I think I explain it with details and charts and data, just as I did when I was a litigator, when I did trials, when I took depositions, when I was in arbitrations and I had to make my case. You could disagree or agree with me, but let me make my case with the evidence and with the facts. All right, let's contrast that to you guys. Your reporting yesterday. Okay, Jesse Watters, who I view as one of your propagandists, by the way. Jesse Watters' mommy. Jesse Watters' mother. Big fan of the MeidasTouch network, who warned Jesse Watters not to delve into conspiracy theories. Jesse Watters says, I don't think Kamala was hot. She was okay, but not that hot. What about AOC? Says Greg Gutfeld. I'm not going to go there. This is what they were talking about on state regime media yesterday. Here, play this clip. I have to disagree with Dana. I didn't think Kamala was hot. Oh, she was attractable. I'd say hot. I don't know. I mean, she was okay. But I mean, if we're talking hot, she's not hot. I didn't say hot. Well, it's about hot people. Okay. AOC, I'm not going to be generous. More from Jesse Watters. Intrepid, reporting yesterday, saying green energy won't save the world. They aren't bombing windmills. What are you even talking about? Play this clip. Just like NATO had to boost defense spending, other countries need to become more self-reliant. Green energy isn't going to save the world. The Mullers aren't bombing windmills. Or when they bring on individuals like this guy, Robert Greenway on Laura Ingram's show. Just let the president cook. He's cooking everybody. When he engages in those war crimes, he's cooking. Don't question him. Don't exercise your Article 1 congressional oversight and authorization of war powers. Let him cook. Let him cook, man. G.I. Joes, let them cook. Really? Because our soldiers right now, I think, have some of the lowest morale. They feel they're being sent to die for foreign powers in Iran, not knowing what the hell the objectives are. As Donald Trump says he wants to do a joint venture with the Ayatollah in the Strait of Hormuz, while Iran mocks Donald Trump for saying that. But anyway, let him cook, man. Let him cook. Here, play this clip. And second, 100% of our strikes are successful. There's nothing the Iranians can do about it. You're 100% right. It is just a matter of time. We need to let the president cook. More from Jesse Watters right here. Jesse Watters says, the Democrats are saying ICE is going to make the airports more violent. Nah, man. That's the woman drinking margaritas. Yo, yeah. Like, what the hell even is this? You all think that you're normal, like you're attacking us. Let's play this clip of Jesse Watters. I've been missing you dearly. Let me finish. The Democrats are saying that ICE is going to make the airports more violent. No, it's the women drinking margaritas before takeoff. You've seen the Southwest flights. It's like world star hip-hop, Jessica. And then Jesse Watters is like, Donald Trump says that he's negotiating with Iran. And even though they deny it, let's just why? Why are we saying that they're the ones telling the truth? I don't know. Jesse Watters. Maybe because the Strait of Hormuz is still controlled by them. Maybe it's because there hasn't been a single change in the status of the war, other than it escalating further. How about we can observe what's literally taking place there? How about what Donald Trump said that he wants to partner with the Ayatollah? And Donald Trump claims that Witoff and Kushner were talking to Iran. GB, Galabe over at Iran. And they're like, we're not having any conversations with you. What are you talking about? Why would they want to speak with Witoff and Kushner after last time there were discussions? And the foreign minister of Oman said there was basically a deal in principle. The United States and Israel bombed and launched this unlawful war in the first place. But anyway, play this clip. Blackout. Because I was on assignment, and I get back and I see that Trump's announced he's negotiating with the Iranians. And the Iranians said, no, we're not. And the US media believe the Iranians. So it's like, all right, the Iranians do lie, guys. They said they had no intentions of building a nuclear weapon. They just last week said they sunk an aircraft carrier of ours. So obviously they're lying to look tough. And how would they know who's negotiating? The Israelis just killed one of the IRGC leaders who is living in a tent in the woods. I don't think the left hand knows what the right hand's doing. Okay. But there was a moment on state regime media yesterday I do want to point out that I thought was noteworthy. And this is when Republican Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana blamed Donald Trump for the government shutdown. And he said on state regime media that Democrats offered to open up everything but ICE. Ted Cruz and I said, okay, let's accept their offer. Senator Toon agreed, let's do it. And Donald Trump said, no, we have to deal with genitals or something. Genital mutilation and SAVE Act and genitals is what Donald Trump wanted to focus on. Here, play this clip. Senator Cruz and I came up with a plan. We said, look, it's a two-step process. The Democrats have offered to open up everything but ICE. Ted and I said, okay, let's accept their offer. And then, at the same time, we would offer a bill for reconciliation where we don't need any Democratic votes to do whatever we wanted to do with ICE. And that way, we're out of the shutdown and DHS is back open. We submitted that. Senator Cthulhu submitted that to President Trump, as is his right. He said no deals with the Democrats. It would have worked. We could have had TSA paid by the end of the week. But the president said no deal. Which, that clip reminds me as well of a clip from 2024, June 30th, 2024 to be exact, where MAGA Republican Senator Langford, James Langford, of Oklahoma, very, very right-wing guy from Oklahoma. Remember when he and Biden worked on a bipartisan? You may forget this, but I'll leave you with this clip. A bipartisan immigration bill that would have created strong borders, but also made sure that individuals who were here, not the criminals, get the criminals out, right? But people who were here paying taxes and contributing could have a pathway to citizenship, help the American economy. And Donald Trump said, kill it. Kill this bipartisan bill. We need immigration to be a mess so that we can be the ones who impose our authoritarian agenda. Listen to Langford say it himself on state regime media. Play this clip. I know you're not trying to zing your colleagues, but it's your colleagues in your party, sir, who torpedoed this. Who didn't get the facts right on what you just outlined was in that measure. They killed it. Ironically, not Democrats.
Right, it was, and it was painful to be able to watch. It got stirred up in all the presidential politics, and
several of my colleagues started looking for ways. After President Trump said, don't fix anything during the presidential election. It's the single biggest issue during the election. Don't resolve this. We'll resolve it next year. Quite a few of my colleagues backed up, look for a reason to be able to shoot against it, and then walked away. I get that. That's a decision everybody makes in it. My issue is, we can, if we're pursuing everything, we very often end up with nothing. If we're pursuing someone coming later to fix it, later seems to never come. When we have a moment to fix things, we should fix as many things as we can then come back later and fix the rest. That's on Donald Trump, Senator. That again, he's got an office that he's running for. He's got a campaign that he's running. I'm already in office. I've got a responsibility to be able to carry on this. And then I think he alludes to one of the Fox hosts, late night host. You can guess which one it is. Threatening him personally. Do not bring a bipartisan immigration bill in 2024, or else we will destroy you. Listen to what he said. Play it. If you try to move a bill that solves the border crisis during this presidential year, I will do whatever I can to destroy you. In fact, I had a popular commentator 4 weeks ago that I talked to that told me flat out before they knew any of the contents of the bill, any of the content, nothing was out at that point. That told me flat out, if you try to move a bill that solves the border crisis during this presidential year, I will do whatever I can to destroy you, because I do not want you to solve this during the presidential election. By the way, they have been faithful to their promise and have done everything they can to destroy me. Well, there you have it. So I suppose it's an honor when Trump and Fox and all these right-wingers attack us. But it's just an honor to have Scott McFarland here on the MeidasTouch network. So will you all do me this favor, please? After you watch this video, can you go to Scott McFarlane News on YouTube? Subscribe to McFarlane's YouTube channel. Let's get that YouTube channel over 100,000 subscribers today. Let's get Scott McFarlane's YouTube channel over 100,000 subscribers. Thank you all so much for watching. We appreciate you. We're grateful for you. And you can subscribe here as well, but definitely subscribe to Scott McFarlane's YouTube channel right now at Scott McFarlane News. Check it out. New Meidas merch. Head to store.meidastouch.com today and get yourself the best pro-democracy gear and show your support. That's store.meidastouch.com.